Is identity theft the way to actually get out of paying back any of your credit? Let's talk about it based on this article from the Wall Street Journal. And what they start off with is false claims of identity theft raise questions about how reliable the credit reporting system really is. In recent years, the government website has made it easier for people to file claims of identity theft so they can remove fraudulent accounts from their credit reports. And those reports are based from credit scores sold by the big three. We know who they are, to banks as they make lending decisions. And people being able to do that is smooth the claims for people who have fallen victim to identity theft. We know this happens to a lot of people. But now the credit reporting industry says it's being hit by illegitimate claims facilitated by companies that promise to help customers fix low credit scores for a fee. And what the credit reporting industry is claiming is that these companies file false identity theft claims on items that bring down customers' credit scores, like delinquent credit card debt, often without that person's knowledge. That move often removes the information from the consumer's credit reports while the claim is being investigated. The practice is known as credit washing, since a person's credit reports can look better than they really are, at least temporarily, then so can their scores. Now, where I'm from, we call it a credit sweep. I guess in the industry, they call it credit washing. But really what it does is that it removes a lot of what they would call derogatory items because they're being investigated. And then it can improve your credit score for a certain amount of time. However, that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. And what people can often find out is that it can get removed, their credit score can go up, they can maybe apply for things and acquire them. Then what can happen maybe 6 months to a year later is that stuff gets put back on their credit. That can happen. I'm not saying that it happens every time. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion get millions of letters each year that allege errors on credit reports, many claiming identity theft, according to people familiar with the matter. It isn't known how many are illegitimate claims. And what happens is sometimes the companies receive batches of similar letters claiming identity theft or other issues at once, mailed from the same zip code on the same date, some with the same typos, according to people and documents reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. And we know what this is. If somebody is doing a massive amount of emails, they're using the same templates, they're using the same letterhead, and they just send them out because they've accumulated all of these particular accounts that they're going to try to get reversed, and they just do it all at one time. So overall, U.S. consumers reported to the FTC roughly around 600,000 cases of identity theft tied to credit cards, auto loans, other financing, up from around 155K claims 5 years ago. An FTC spokeswoman said a variety of reasons, including data breaches, new ways to commit identity theft, and increased consumer awareness have contributed to a rise. Now, when a person provides the required paperwork to Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, which we call the big three, stating that derogatory information on the credit report is a result of identity theft, the companies in many cases must remove the information within 4 business days if they cannot verify that it is legitimate. They and the lenders can continue to look into the claim and later reinstate the account if it's found to be legitimate. Meanwhile, the borrower is in a better position to apply for new loans from other lenders. And I think this is the reason why so many people have used the identity theft hack, I call it a hack or loophole, as the go-to to try to do credit repair. While consumers can file false claims on their own, people in the industry say that unscrupulous credit repair companies are a bigger part of the problem. I think unscrupulous is a subjective term. I kind of think it's based on what position you are in this situation. For years, credit repair companies have pitched themselves as holding a secret for improving bad credit scores, especially when the economy looks bad. Some say that their services can help people obtain financing for a new car or to become homeowners, messages that resonate with consumers struggling to make ends meet. Consumers could end up worse than they started, having paid hundreds or thousands of dollars with little effect on their credit scores. Now we're going to talk about some of the companies that the FCC has sued in the recent years. Credit repair company Turbo Solutions told people it can remove late payments, bankruptcies, other negative information from their credit reports, according to a civil lawsuit filed by the Justice Department on behalf of the FTC in the state of Texas. Phone representatives for the company, which went by a few names, including Alex Submitted Credit Repair, said that consumers' credit scores would improve by 200 points in 90 days. According to the lawsuit, credit scores generally range from 300 to 850. Other claims beyond identity theft are also gumming up the system. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion have received letters stating that only one or more items on the consumer's credit reports were inaccurate. According to people familiar with the matter, So the vagueness of the disputes can result in long investigations that can result in accounts falling off people's credit reports, at least temporarily, and give them a better overall credit standing. And we know about this tactic where people will tell you if there's one item on the actual credit report that's incorrect, maybe it's going to be an address, maybe it can be the amount that's owed on the account. So let's say they say you owe $300 and really you can show documentation to say that you owe $250. They got to take it off because it's incorrect. Keep going down. The credit reporting industry says it works hard to make sure that data on credit reports is reliable. A spokesman for the Consumer Data Industry Association, which represents the big three and other credit reporting firms, and it says that some credit repair companies undermine the process of addressing legitimate requests. One credit repair firm, a Florida company called The Credit Game, allegedly offered credit repair and other packages with titles like Maserati and Lambo, short for Lamborghini, according to a civil lawsuit filed in federal court by the FTC. The FTC alleged, among other things, that the Credit Game and affiliated companies advised people to file false reports of identity theft and that it filed such reports unbeknown to customers. Another company called Do Not Pay, which describes itself as a consumer rights robot lawyer, recently launched a service that generates letters for people who want Equifax, or we'll call them the big three, to remove information from their credit reports. Identity theft is one type of claim that people can choose in their software generated letters. So we talked about before, they have these letters that are essentially templated and you just send them out. Now, here's my analysis on this because we talked about this extensively. I did a really good video on Erica Williams' channel in which we talk about this credit debt system that we have inside the United States. Did it over a year ago. I would encourage you to actually go and watch that video because I felt like there was a lot of really good information that I was able to provide outside of just talking about the markets and trading, that I was able to help people get an understanding. Because one of the biggest challenges I think people have is there's a lot of miscommunication around how the credit system in this country works. And I'm not one of these people that call people debt slaves and things of that nature. I think credit is necessary in this economic system. All right. I think most people don't understand what their life would look like if we got rid of credit in this economy. I don't think they really understand it because most people don't have the income to support themselves without credit. They don't understand that we need capital expansion to do business, things of that nature. So I think we have a lot of people who are just speaking from a position to where it promotes my message, but it's really not comprehensive. Okay. I don't think the average person would want to live in a world if we didn't have the credit markets. Because if you do, you can go to other parts of the world like Africa, Central and South America, certain parts of Eastern Europe, and you can see how people live when there's no access to credit markets. And you ask yourself, do you want to live like that? However, this is the issue. What I'm seeing is, in my opinion, is just scammers scamming each other. The big three are involved in identity theft. Let me give an example. I have a freeze on my credit reporting, right? I have a freeze on that. And I moved from one state to another state. And one of the big three reached out to me and they mailed me at my new address. And they says, we've confirmed that you have a freeze on your credit reporting. However, we're updating your address. My question is, why are you updating my address? I can't get any attorney to explain to me why this private company that I never contracted with, I never gave them consent through any type of agreement that I'm aware of, that they can collect my personal information. They can collect my addresses, especially my addresses. They can collect my personal information as I move around the country. If I was in a relationship with a woman and we broke up and she moved to another state and I was to mail her at her new address and say, hey, well, I'm aware that you moved. Here's your new address, which I know it because I mailed you. She probably could go to the police and say, David is stalking me. What's very interesting is that no one can explain why these companies have the ability to collect your personal information and then furnish your personal information or sell it to other companies as part of their business model. And you cannot tell them, stop collecting my information. I know people are going to say, well, if you use this terminology, it could work. If you just say, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory in the letter, they'll stop doing it. What I'm telling you is that if you are stalking me, right? I don't have to go to the police and say, hey, this person's stalking me. And the police say, well, David, they can stop stalking you if you just say in a letter mailed to them, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Open Sesame in the letter, and then they have to legally stop stalking you. No, I can say, hey, this person is stalking me. These are the details of the situation. The police will determine whether or not that person's stalking me. And they say, well, David, you know what you can do? You can file a restraining order against this person. And then if they violate the restraining order, then we now can escalate this and take this to the next level. The police not going to tell you that you need to say abracadabra Shazam in a restraining letter or in a letter to this person. And that's the only way they can stop stalking you. And if you don't say abracadabra Shazam in the restraining letter, then they don't have to stop stalking you. This is the issue. What we have is a lot of confusion around this topic. And that's why I said I don't teach credit to people, because if I teach, I'm 100% convinced if I actually teach people how the credit system actually works and how to actually navigate it, I will end up in prison. Because the goal of this system is to keep the consumer bogged down with this. It's a weight on the consumer. So you can't focus on other things that are going to make you more productive. Like, how do I make more money? How do I spend more time with my family? How do I focus on my health? How do I focus on my spirituality? Because you're caught in this system. Let me give an example. Reading this paragraph right here, right? It says, when a person provides the required paperwork to the big three, stating that an unpaid loan or other negative, or what we call derogatory information, is the result of identity theft, the company in many cases must remove the information within 4 business days if they can't verify that it is legitimate. Now, I want you to read that sentence and understand what I've been telling people for years. Why is there information on the credit report that has not already been verified to be actual, factual? Why is it there? What is the process? So if I was to ever bring in anybody from the big three, first thing I would ask them is, do you believe your information to be accurate? Like, say we was in a court. First question, do you believe the information to be accurate? Yes or no? Why do you believe the information to be accurate? What's the process to verify that the information that you're furnishing is accurate? Because what I know that a lot of people don't know is that subprime credit is worth more to institutions than prime credit. Therefore, the big three can charge more to institutions to get lists of people that the institutions would consider subprime, because subprime credit is worth more than prime credit to the institutions. Therefore, they don't have an incentive in their business to verify that the information is legitimate. You as a consumer have to find out the information, determine whether or not the information is legitimate, then now go through the process of making sure that they correct the information, which is a very long, laborious process, because they don't have to verify that the information is legitimate before they present the information to whoever is using their service. So they can furnish incorrect information. It happened to me. I went to try to get a property from a private owner. The credit reporting agency that they were contracted to furnished incorrect information about myself. Then I had to go behind them and correct the information. Had to reach out to the state of Georgia, because they were putting information from the corrections department on my credit, right? That had nothing to do with me. That wasn't me. This person was using my name as an alias, but I have one of the most common names inside the United States. So they could have been using, it could be anybody, because I have one of the most, probably top 5 common names inside the whole United States. Right? So the question is, how did they verify that that information was accurate before they furnished it out to that particular provider or the person that they're contracted to? And why aren't they responsible for making sure that their information is legitimate? Now, somebody say, well, if they don't change the information, you can go to court and sue them for that. The question I want to ask again is, how do I have time to do all that? I'm working 40 hours a week. I got a family. I got to pay bills. I got to run my daily life. When do I have time to take these people to court? How come they're not on the hook to make sure that the information that they're presenting is accurate?